So I'm going to start off saying I'm doing big hair again. I saw someone who had big hair and I just loved it. Um, what I wanted to tell you guys is that what they're talking about, and then I'll talk to you about some other stuff. So they said I was right when I was a kid that on Good Times, there's the guy Booker was also called Booger, and they said I was told as a kid that he wasn't told Booger. I don't remember any of that. I would have been a little girl. I think the Good Times was on when I was like, you know, before I was born to like maybe I was like, I don't know how old I would have been, like maybe 6, 7 or something like that. So I don't remember Booger issue. But again, this is someone who probably wasn't around me enough, probably didn't know anything about Good Times, but that's their memory. That isn't my memory. And that's part of what the issue is. They admit that this was always out loud. They admit that they're violating my civil rights. They said they're going to make it impossible for me to sue. But they also admit that this isn't my memory. Do you understand what I'm saying? They said, oh, we wrote down everything you said. You couldn't have, because this isn't my memory. This isn't what I would have said. I wouldn't talk about Booker or Booger. They said we loathe you. Yes, it's racism, human rights violation. It's a hate crime. I've been talking about this all along. I even did a video where I said these things. They're just taking what I'm saying and feeding it back, which is partly why they're upset, because um, sometimes they found a discrepancy, but they even admit the discrepancy is that if I'm if I make a mistake about something, I say, "Oh, I made a mistake." They cannot. So they got to keep bringing it up as though if the more you talk about a mistake you made and not acknowledge that it's a mistake, it's less of a mistake. No, the more you talk about a mistake you made without acknowledging that you made a mistake, the more it's a bigger mistake. So they admit that they made a mistake on that. They said they talk about these mulattoes again. I mean, we don't talk about this in America. I've never met any American, and I'm telling you, I'm 51, who talked about being mulatto, not mulatto. We don't classify ourselves in that way. There are people who are biracial. We say biracial. We say mixed. We say black. We don't talk about mulattoes like that. I think for some reason in this country that seemed to me like that's something we didn't grow up with. Maybe their generation did. I want to talk to you about the generations. As we're talking about these issues, I do think there was a problem with some of the people in the older generation. There was a big deal when I was a kid. There were issues in the world that were big deals, but we were able to resolve those issues. This group wants to bring these issues right back, and they even said they're successful at bringing it back because that's the distraction. The distraction is calling someone a mulatto instead of someone biracial or mixed race. That's the distraction. They're bringing these outside issues into this country, and I'm telling you, I have no hesitation in telling you this is something foreign. But they're also bringing in people who didn't do well in their generation to influence the later generations. The reason that's a big deal, and I'm putting this out there, is that if you had these issues in your generation and you're trying to influence the younger generation, I hope we get to a point where we say, no, that was part of the issue. This type of racism is part of the issue. This type of hatred where you loathe someone so much, they said, oh, it's outside. Yes, that's how you know I'm not lying about this. So they thought there was a discrepancy between what I said about in the apartment versus outside. In the apartment, it's the swelling, it's the being hit with something, it's trying to make me see things. They cannot do that outside. It's the constant hum. Outside, they're using cell phones or some sort of other technology to just amplify the sounds and the words. But inside, it was the inability to record. So what I'm saying is I have videos where I recorded outside and I'll let you hear it. It sounds different. I'm not going to keep arguing with criminals. This is a crime. The other big deal about that is that they felt like, oh, they're going to bring back all these old crimes like pickpocketing or, bumping into someone in the street and then causing a big argument and then killing that person. That was something that was around years ago. We got past that. We got to the point where if you are in a street and someone bumps into you, it's crowded. This is New York City. They felt that I was going to feel like there were things I couldn't say publicly. I have the right. This is freedom of speech. You're watching right now what an American citizen is able to do. So I had a cute little interaction with a woman today, and they kept going over so angry. It's so jealous. It's so envious that they kept going over it. They said, those are the interactions I have with people, and they don't. Bingo. There it is. That is the sound bite from today. That was why they needed to clone me, because they felt that if we all say exactly what I say, then we would all get the same treatment. That isn't reality. The reality is when they said, we loathe you, other people sense that and they can't absorb that. That hatred, that loathing oozes out of them. It's in their everything. It's in their eyes. It's in their demeanor. It's in the way they walk. It's in the way they talk. It's them. It had nothing to do with me at all. And partly when they said I won't be around because, I'm not out a lot and I'm not around a lot, is that once you remove me from that setting, it can't be because people love me. It's because people sense their loathing of everything and everyone, and they don't want to be around them. And once you put the focus back on them, the spotlight, they would love to keep the spotlight on me and other victims. But once you shine that spotlight on them and you sense that loathing, that's the reason they're disliked. It had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with mulattoes, Booger, civil rights, Black people. It has to do with them. And what they contribute to this world is nothing but hatred. Thank you for watching.